It's all about Siser this week. 20% off all Siser products. $75 off of heat presses? Man, this is kind of crazy.
Joe, we're live, dude. On Expression's vinyl page.
What?
Dude, we're live.
Oh, okay. We're live here on Expression's vinyl page, I hope. I am Joe with Siser North America here in the Siser studio. Thank you so much to Expression's Vinyl for letting us take over this week at Siser. I was just checking out some amazing coupon codes that Expression's Vinyl is having right now. Look at this. 20% off all Siser products and take $75 off of a heat press. This is pretty awesome. They are truly a deal too good to pass up. So if you have the chance, check this out after this video. I hope everything is running swimmingly right now. Everybody tuning in, we got some people tuning in. I got Austin running the camera right now. He is going to be taking all your questions. So we're here today to talk about proper pressure with Siser HTV. So I really want to make sure we're answering all the questions you have, so feel free to ask as many questions as you want throughout this. Austin's going to be monitoring. I believe Jessica is also holding it down at Expression's Vinyl. But again, we're here at Siser taking over. We're going to start off with how you can apply Siser products. So I have a wide range of different ways you can achieve applying heat transfer vinyl onto your garment. In case you don't know, Siser manufactures heat transfer vinyl. So if you've ever seen Easyweed, Easyweed Stretch, Easyweed Electric, all the wonderful things you see right at Expression's Vinyl, that is made by us at Siser North America. Most of them are heat applied. Now we have the Easy PSV, which is also available for these awesome coupon codes. That is pressure sensitive vinyl. So this works as well when we're talking about proper pressure. But today we're going to focus on the heat transfer vinyl. So I have a heat press all set to go. This right here is a 16 by 20. I'm at 305 degrees. I have the home iron, which I know a lot of you have probably used at one point. If not, are currently still using, which is going to work with Siser Heat Transfer Vinyls. And I am also rocking this Cricut Easy Press, which is pretty sweet. So I'm just going to kind of run across the entire difference between all three of these presses. So the great thing about the heat transfer vinyl, again, if you want to start off with this, you can start off by just applying with a home iron. That is going to work. Now, the heat press is where, if you know that this is becoming a business or you want to do more of it and you want consistency, that is the route you're going to want to go. People ask me this all the time. Joe, what do you prefer? A heat press or a bigger vinyl cutter? I will 100% of the time say a heat press, because the biggest thing that happens with using a home iron versus the heat press is what gets lost? Pressure. So this is what I really want to stress today, because this will apply your garment. The important thing is making sure that it's properly applied. So if you apply this and it works out, the trick is going to be washing it afterwards and making sure everything is successful. So I'm going to apply a few things later in the video to show one versus the other and what to do when you are applying with one or the other, and show you the benefits. So what I want to talk about when you are working with either a heat press or a home iron is other tools you can use to achieve proper pressure. And these are also available at Expression's Vinyl. They are also included in the deal this week. So these are heat press pillows. And these are a huge help. All they are cushions to make sure that you're getting proper pressure, whether you're using a heat press or a home iron. So how many of us have ever decorated a baby, what do we call them now? Body suits? I don't know, there's something, not onesies anymore, I guess. But you see how this one's done? Every time I see somebody press it on a heat press, it kind of makes me cringe, because there are so many things in this one piece of garment that can inflict uneven pressure. Now, a perfect pillow for that would be this size. This is something that is easily placed right inside the garment to achieve the proper pressure. So I'm sitting here working with this awesome bodysuit. What do we call it?
Baby bodysuit?
Baby bodysuit?
Maybe.
Is that what someone said?
No.
If you know the name of it, let me know. So as you can see, with this, I am placed inside this garment, which avoids all these seams throughout this whole onesie. These buttons I can lay off of the heat press, and this will ensure that I have proper pressure. So I'm going to show you just a couple garments, and if, again, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in.
We got one question. What happens if you press your vinyl for too long?
That's a good question, because what most people end up doing is they have the theory in their mind, and it kind of makes sense, right? The more heat and the more pressure and the longer time is going to properly bond my transfer. And that's not always true. So when we tell you 305 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds, that's because we don't want you to scorch your garment. We don't want you to burn the glue, the adhesive that is bonding the transfer to your garment. Because what happens when you press it too long or too much temperature and too much pressure is you actually end up, the adhesive liquefies, right? So when you press down with a lot of force and a lot of pressure, that adhesive starts pushing to the outside of the transfer. So that might be why you see the ghost rim of adhesive around it. It might look like it's kind of got the adhesive sticky part around it. That is because you might have too much pressure or your heat is too high. So you don't want to overkill your transfer. It's only going to be worse for the outcome than better. Again, as long as you have the proper pressure, the temperature, and the dwell time, you can really follow what we suggest with all the applications.
And shout out to Nomi, Kathy, and Shanna.
Shout out.
It's a onesie.
It's a onesie.
It's a onesie.
All right. Someone told me I was wrong and called it like a bodysuit or something like that. I don't know. So that is an example. The onesie is for sure a popular thing to talk about with uneven pressure. This is another one that we see all the time with hoodies. Here we kind of tested the boundaries with Easyweed. We actually went right over the seams and applied this. I'm sure if you look at this, I wonder how many things do you see wrong that would cause uneven pressure? Let's get some numbers. Do we see some numbers pop up?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, but we have another question from Shanna.
Shanna.
What do you do if you don't know the temperature because your iron does not say just cotton?
Okay. Well, we can jump right over that. We're going to come back. Think of how many obstructions on the hoodie. Think of a number, meanwhile. I'll jump right into it. This right here is a huge tool if you are using a home iron, and even if you have a heat press, this is also a helpful tool to have. This is a laser thermometer. So I have my home iron set right now, and all it's set to is number 4. In case you can't see that, it is just at a 4 dial. Some of them have the fabric listed, some of them have different things, and you never really know exactly what it is. But this laser thermometer is as simple as pressing this button and clicking it right into the platen, and you can get a gauge as to what the temperature is. But this is what you want to do, and you want to make sure you go throughout that whole platen to make sure you're getting somewhat of even temperature throughout that whole platen. So I'm not sure what it's reading right now, but
pretty low.
It's pretty low. But does it go up high at the top?
It's at 126.
Okay, so we're pretty low. We got to crank this up. So that's gonna be the way I'm gonna tell whether or not this is the right temperature. And these things kind of go to sleep every once in a while, I believe.
Yep.
So
I think so.
We're gonna let that cook up. But if you want to see how it is with the heat press, now this is another one. Even with your heat press, you want to make sure you're getting the proper temperature throughout that entire upper platen. So when you periodically want to test it, when you are using your press over and over again, right? And with testing it with the iron, or with the laser thermometer, instead of doing what I did there and pointing directly at it, because it's got an angle on it, I'm going to point down to that press. And it's going to give me a better gauge of where I'm at. And I know it might be hard to see from this, but we're in the ballpark of the 300. I know. I can promise you, I'm looking at it right here. So my temperature gauge right now says 309 degrees, and my laser thermometer says 309 degrees. So if I move it through this whole press, everything is right in the ballpark I want to be. So this tool right here, the laser thermometer, is going to help you, especially with these two kinds of presses. Whether you're using the home iron, sometimes the other thing you want to be careful is the top of it can sometimes get a lot hotter than the bottom of the home iron. So you want to make sure when you are doing that every area of your transfer is being evenly distributed with the right heat. With the Cricut press, the Easy Press here, you have a flat surface. You don't have the holes you have here, which will also somewhat play a factor in the end result. The flat surface is great because it will give you the even pressure you need, but you still want to make sure that the temperature here when it's on is reading the gauge that it has here on the display. So that using the same tool as you do there, I would suggest investing a couple bucks. They don't cost much. You can get them at your hardware store. I think we paid like 25 or 30 bucks for this thing. So that'll be a huge help. So I hope that answered your question.
Yep, we got some numbers coming in.
Got some numbers on the hoodie?
Yep.
All right, what are we saying?
We got some people. Kathy says 3 things. Jamie says 4, and Shayna says 3. So we got 3, 4, 3.
I'm going to give both of them an okay, right? You do have about 3. We'll start with right here, being obvious with the laces and the V-neck. I'll call that 1. You have the seams, which is 2. Then you have that big pocket we have right here, which is 3. But for the number 4, the hood itself, because sometimes when that gets put onto a heat press, instead of fishing it onto the heat press correctly, some people actually end up folding that hood over or underneath it and going to press it. So that right there is going to be a problem when it comes to pressing this. But again, using these heat press pillows, now if you want to come in on this, Austin, just to show, even though I don't have anything here, but if I laid this onto my press the way I'd want it, and I have the laces here, I have the collar here in the way, I have the pocket itself in the way, but if I wanted to achieve a design right here, I would take one of my size heat transfer pillows, lay it inside of the hoodie, and now I have the seam pocket of this drops off, and I have the V-neck of this hoodie drop off as well. So I have the space, which is going to give me the even pressure that I need when I am pressing this. So the next thing is where you can work harmoniously with the heat press and the home iron is if you had a project like this where you didn't want to turn your heat press on, but you wanted to press with the home iron. The benefit with that is that you can lay this on a flat surface, and with the iron, you can really target the areas you want to apply on. So that's a good way to kind of look at using both of these as a good tool when you are doing kind of trickier designs or trickier areas to apply on. But again, there's things that get lost with the home iron versus using the heat press. And one of the big reasons, or one of the big things, is the benefits of a lot of Siser materials. So I'm going to do a couple applications with you. And I think I lost one of my pieces. Oh. So is everyone familiar with the 2-step foils and the Easyweed adhesive? What do we got, Austin? No one knows about it? We got to know about it because this is a process we do not suggest using a home iron with, because you're not going to get the even pressure that you need when you are applying it. So I'm going to do a press with the awesome mini tee on a heat press. I'm gonna preheat this for a couple seconds, and right now I'm at what I would consider a medium pressure. So I'm gonna apply this Easyweed adhesive, and the benefit there is that if you were using a larger image, let's say, on a bigger garment, you wouldn't be able to do this. A 1 second tack and peel the carrier hot. That's another thing you wouldn't be able to achieve if you were using a home iron, because you'd have to press each area little by little to be able to peel the carrier. So one step, press that for 1 second at 305. I'm gonna lay my foil piece down. Don't judge me, I'm not using a cover sheet. Use a cover sheet. I'm gonna press this for about 10 to 15 seconds. And I'll do a press with the home iron just to show you, but the results are a little bit different. Now with this process, it is a cold peel.
Now Joe, how easy was that? Some people said they were a little bit scared to try the foil.
How come?
They said it looks a little bit tricky.
Well, let me show you how not tricky that is. How about that?
That looked so easy, dude.
That wasn't that bad.
No.
But that's all it takes. Don't be afraid. The other times people get afraid, and this is the other benefit when you are working with Easyweed. Well, let me show you the heat press trick, because this is a big talk about favorite. Hence Easyweed already being easy to weed. When you are working with a heat press versus a home iron, so when you pull it, you do feel a little bit of resistance. It does have that sticky backing, but when you have a heat press right next to you, warming up that lower platen for a few seconds, and then I'm going to take my cut piece on there, lay that on there, and now I'm barely pulling at that. See that? And even that little piece lifted up, and I can put it back down because it's got a sticky backing. I'm going to weed out my cavities. And what that is if you were doing a ton of garments and you needed a roster of names and numbers of Easyweed, this would save you so much time just weeding it right on the lower platen like that using the heat press trick. So I'm going to do the second layer. I'm going to show you two color, because this is the other process that people are afraid of, and working with the heat press is going to save you a lot of time, and what we call the 1 second tack. And this is not a trick, people, I'm telling you. I'm going to lay my Easyweed down, and this is literally medium pressure, 1 second tack, peel hot. I did that. We're live right now. I can't edit that. That just happened.
I know, dude.
So people ask why. Like, how does that work? Because this heat press gave me even medium pressure that I needed to apply that all at once. Now you got to look at that on a larger scale, right? Like a full-size design and a full-size garment, you can do the exact same thing. That was 1 second. And this is 100% cotton. And the purpose is, if too much heat is subjected to that, it's going to cause it to shrink. So how many people have dealt with a 3-color design and you get to that final layer and it doesn't line up right? I have too, don't worry about it. But with this process, the 1 second tack, I didn't manipulate the size of my garment, I didn't change my registration. Now I lined up my foreground exactly how I wanted it. And this is a true story. The even pressure helps. So now that's my last layer. I'm going to press that and go on. Now again, if I was using a home iron or even the Cricut press, if you were going on a larger scale, you're limited to so much area space when you are pressing. So this is a 16 by 20. Even a 15 by 15 would be able to accommodate a full-size shirt. So, and you peel hot, so you don't have to wait around.
They don't call it Easyweed for nothing.
They don't call it Easyweed for nothing. And now that is the whole purpose and the benefit of the entire Easyweed family. So that works even if you're using Easyweed Stretch, Easyweed Electric, Easyweed Glow. All of these you can do that same process with. The other thing people get afraid of doing is pressing 2 different medias, which is one of my favorite combinations, is when you mix the most popular products together. So you got Easyweed and glitter directly on top. Because you guys all know, we don't suggest layering glitter on top of glitter. But Easyweed allows you to apply any Siser Heat Transfer Vinyl directly on top of the Easyweed. And using the heat press just allows it to be a little bit more efficient, especially when it comes to washing. Because I stress this mostly when it comes to the washing side. Now, if you are applying with a home iron and you're going on something you aren't going to launder, you don't really have to worry about it peeling off over time. The biggest concern is if you're putting your garment in the wash and then throwing it in the dryer, if it is not bonded correctly, that's when you're going to see the lifting. So this is what I'm really trying to stress, is that the pressure is key. And at least with the heat press, I know there's already variables enough with the heat press, but there's even more with the home iron. Because me pressing down with a home iron versus someone else, there's going to be a little bit of a difference. At least with the heat press, you have your pressure gauge right here on your upper platen, and you're able to adjust it, and you can kind of tell where your pressure is, at least throughout the entire design. And that's where you also want to make sure you gauge that when you are putting your garment on there first. Because especially if you're working with a hoodie versus a regular t-shirt, there's a little difference between the fabrics, which is going to cause uneven pressure. So before you do that, always test the pressure with the garment on there first. So we're going to do this two color real fast. Is there any questions so far? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm jumping ahead.
We're good, dude. People are just talking heat presses in there.
Heat presses?
Yep.
Well, you know Expressions Vinyl's got $75 off of heat presses right now. That is a real deal.
We got one question from Holly. She said, best way to tell firm pressure, medium pressure, so on your heat press?
Well, some presses actually have a gauge on them. That's not, I mean, that's way down the line for you. This press doesn't really have one. A good way to tell is really how much you have to press down on. So right here, I mean, I can close this comfortably with one hand. It doesn't take much, and I know that's more of a medium pressure. Now, Holly, if you're hanging on it when you go to close it and you're really using your body weight to close that thing, maybe the pressure might be a little high. You shouldn't really have to, I guess, change it too much. Again, the fabric is going to determine the pressure, so you always want to make sure you have that on there first. But I always recommend to people that are getting into this to have scrap fabrics to test out. And then if you're using Easyweed or if you're using Siser glitter, whatever you might be using, you want to test that on those test garments. This way you know where your press should be set for these materials. So I'm just going to show you here with Easyweed versus glitter, which, in case you don't know, glitter is a lot thicker of a material than Easyweed is. But I'm not going to change the pressure here, and I'm going to combine the two different products together. So here I'm going to lay my Easyweed down first, and again, no smoke and mirrors. I'm going to show you just what I did last time as a 1 second tack. I'm peeling that hot. That's not a joke. We're live right now. 1 second that took. But I'm going to go line up my foreground. But I'm not going to adjust the temperature. I'm not adjusting the pressure. Everything is the same. This is my last layer, so I'm going to press it for the full duration. But I'm going to show you a real trick in case you ever do this. Has anyone ever dealt with this and done this combination, but you see how you get like the speckles of the glitter inside of the Easyweed when you layer this? I don't know if anyone has. Here's a trick and a benefit of the glitter is you can press this glitter for a couple of seconds. Do the same thing, peel that hot. And what I did is I avoided these speckles of the glitter on the carrier to actually bond inside of the Easyweed. So it's just a little trick in case you ever deal with that, and people I've heard before at shows, they don't like that the glitter's inside the Easyweed. just tacking the glitter alone for 1 to 2 seconds as well and peel hot. That's all you have to do. But now we're going to go back and apply this for the full duration.
One more question for you, Joe.
I need all the questions.
Yep.
That's all
from
good.
Royce.
Royce.
What happens when you weed and you miss a part? So you missed a part to weed and then you iron it on.
Classic mistake, Royce. We do this sometimes too. They've gotten better and better with the vinyl removers, which I do believe Expressions Vinyl has. There are different kinds out there. They all kind of work exactly the same. And more or less it's just a solution that you take a little droplet, put on the back side. So say I wanted, with the Easyweed here, say I didn't want the E, I would flip this inside out. I would take a little bit of the solution, the vinyl remover solution, dab it underneath the E here, and all you need is a little bit, and then you just take your finger and you could peel that piece off. So if you did forget a cavity, which a lot of people end up doing, that is one way of doing it. The other way is sometimes it's a little variables there, but you can actually take a heating element of sorts and warm up the backside and loosen that glue again, and while you're doing that you can peel the letter off or the cavity out. So I would suggest going with the solution. They've gotten a lot better with those, so that is always big help.
Question from Brett. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color? That's a tricky question. Thanks, Brett. I don't know. I'm a Easyweed stretch fan, so I like all of them really, and they even have the wonderful craftier colors all in the stretch line as well. I'm a sucker for like the white, black, and red. I keep it pretty generic. Well, my studio's not really set up as much, but I like these color schemes and blue. But yeah, no, we have a lot more coming out color-wise, so stay on the lookout for that. We're gonna do. We got a question?
Nope. Royce just said thank you very much.
Oh yeah, not a problem. I'm going to see where this thing is temperature-wise.
How are we looking?
All right, so it's like at 250 right now.
Maybe when that heats up. We had another question. Could you just briefly go over our Brick 600 and the difference of the strip lock?
Okay, so Brick 600 is more of it's like a really thick Easyweed. It's got kind of a rubbery feel to it. It is 600 microns, and I know that sounds really geeky, but like that's how we go about like the thicknesses of our heat transfer vinyl and all our materials. So 600 microns. Strip lock is more of a kind of suede velvety feel, and that is about 410 microns, around that. So it's a little bit thinner, but they have different finishes to them. So Brick is just like a very thick Easyweed, and Strip Lock gives you kind of, again, that suede velvety feel. I use it kind of as a faux embroidery look. I like to add it around edges of things to kind of give it another dimensional look. One cool project we just did that I want to kind of talk about, and we just made a video on this one. This is showing you the embossed look. So this is with the brick, which is giving you that dimension. So the brick piece is cut out, applied underneath, and these three colors are all Easyweed stretch, applied right on top of the brick, giving you that embossed look. So this is a very cool trendy thing happening right now. But this right here is a process that would not work out so well with a home iron. So this one was definitely done with the heat press. It was allowed, but I mean the results are pretty awesome, right? So this is something to do to kind of add the dimension of brick, but here's an idea of brick on a hat. So this is showing kind of the things you can do with it that add dimension. It's kind of like a semi-gloss finish to it too. So that is a thick product. I don't have an example of the strip lock, but it is more of a velvet. It's got a really nice finish to it. And what's awesome about the strip flock is you can layer the colors and layer different strip flock colors right on top of one another. So that is always cool if you want to do something that adds more dimension to, say, a Letterman jacket or anything for school. That's kind of where it's really popular right now. But thinking outside the box is always fun too. Is there any questions on anything?
Nope, we pretty much covered them all. Just a bunch of thank yous, and people are loving it. So.
Awesome. I appreciate everyone tuning in right now. Again, we're just going over different things, talking about proper pressure. I can't stress these pillows enough. So these right here, because the other thing that people want to do, and we try to save everybody a few bucks, right? There are heat presses that do have interchangeable platens. So they have heat presses that you can remove these lower platens and get other ones that will place down in that area for specific jobs, right? Like shoe platens and sleeve platens and things like that. But do you really need those? Not really, because you can do the exact same thing with the heat press of this size using these different dimensions of heat press pillows. So all of these heat press pillows come in a range of different sizes and dimensions, which are right all on Expressions Vinyl's website. And with that and a heat press, you can achieve all those different things that you wanted to do with a lower platen if you wanted an interchangeable platen. But I'm just trying to save you a few bucks. Now, caps, although tricky to do with the home iron and even the heat press without having a cap press. So cap presses are what we definitely suggest when it comes to pressing on hats, which are great because the cap press is just like this concept, but it gives you the opportunity, or it gives you the platen that has the curvature of the hat. So that's what's important. So when you lay that into the cap press and it's got a platen that goes in the shape of the cap, and when you press on it, you're getting even pressure throughout that entire top, you're good to go. I just got the mark that we're going over time a little bit, but it's all good. If anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to chime in right now.
Another question from Holly. Best advice on how to center your designs on shirts/sweatshirts?
It's a good idea. The more you do it, you just become aware. And when you're just starting, there's a couple things you can look out for. Sometimes when you get a brand new t-shirt, there will sometimes already be a crease in it that will go down the center of the shirt. This one's already been pressed, so it doesn't have it. But I'm just going to show you what a lot of people will actually do now is they'll evenly fold it, lay it like this, and they'll actually put this on their heat press and press a center crease into it. And this right here will help you kind of get a gauge of where you want to do. And then they'd press it and it would create that middle crease. So this way you know the center of the garment. If you don't want to do that and you worry that it's going to actually keep that crease forever, you can also sometimes gauge it off of the collar as kind of your mark as a center. Again, the more you start doing it, the more you start eyeballing exactly how it lays out. And then if you spend too much time on it, though, you get kind of like me and you don't end up pressing it, and that shirt ends up taking you 30 minutes to do. So don't sweat that too much. It's going to really be, unless you want to pay, again, there's tools out there that have laser lineups, or, there's the T-square, which is pretty cool. That's a really good tool to use, actually. But again, if you're trying to do this in quantity and you want to do fast, you just end up eyeballing the area that you want to go. I guarantee if you go and pick up a t-shirt at your local store, if you looked at it long enough, it's not lined up exactly. So don't overthink it. Was there a question?
I believe we had one more question. Oh yes, another one from Royce. If after you wear your vinyl and it starts to come off, can you repress it?
Yes. Yep. So things to definitely avoid when you are washing. Never use liquid fabric softener. when you're working with Siser materials, don't use a shirt that either has been washed with liquid fabric softener. Regular fabric softener sheets are okay, but the liquid fabric softener does something and coats the garment and coats the fabric so that it actually ends up eating away at the adhesive. So that is one thing you want to avoid. Wash just on a normal cycle, preferably in like cold water, wash inside out. And then for longest longevity in your end result, I would actually just hang dry it. That is going to be better for the ones that have more of the unique finish. So if you're working with Siser holographic or Siser metal or glitter or anything like that, hang drying will help the garment last a lot longer. Because obviously throwing in high heat with the laundry, what are we working with? Heat transfer vinyl. So you want to be weary as to where or how you're laundering your garment. But liquid fabric softener is a big no-no. So that's what we notice a lot when we do get tech calls. So just a heads up on that. And then also just make sure when you are pressing on it, again, with your heat press, if you're using one, just be very weary of every single part of that garment. And I don't know if you noticed when we pressed these mini tees, but I laid this collar off of the lower platen. This way, this collar would have potentially influenced my pressure here versus this very thin Easyweed that I was trying to press with that 1 second tack. So if you aren't able to achieve the 1 second tack with Easyweed and a heat press, that is a big indicator that you have uneven pressure or your press might not be getting to the temperature that it's supposed to. So big tools in this class. I hope you just kind of pick these up. The heat press pillows are very important. This laser thermometer is a great tool to have. And those were the two big ones right there. But just to show you the difference between the heat press and the home iron, again, working with the home iron, I am not saying it's going to not work because they definitely work with our products, but what gets lost, again, is the pressure. So if you go and you press and you're just ironing out your transfer like you'd iron out your wrinkled clothes, that may bond the transfer, but that doesn't mean that it's properly bonded. So you want to make sure when you are pressing it that you do put down some force. We can't stress that enough. I mean, I've seen people literally stand on their home iron. You don't need to do that, but as long as you are using some body weight and pressing down on it, that is going to be your pressure knob like you would have on the heat press. So here we have our pressure knob right there. I can adjust it one way or the other. I can loosen it, I can tighten it. Again, I know that I'm getting even pressure dispersed through this entire garment or entire platen. So if I was working on a full-size garment, I'd be able to knock them out a lot faster, and I know that it's on there properly. Again, you can just follow the guideline of the heat application instructions that we have. We do have them on our site at SiserNA.com. For each material that Expressions Vinyl carries, in case you ever want to know, we have a very helpful app that you can download for free right on your phone or your tablet. Just look up Siser North America in your App Store or the Google Play Store, and it has all the application instructions right there for each material type that Expressions Vinyl carries. So we try to help you out there. If you have any questions on that, you can always ask us. Just be careful of the fabric you're pressing on. Make sure it works with the material you're using. There's a lot of potential with things you want to do. And it all requires pressure. And just quickly touching base on our latest Easy PSV line, which is our pressure sensitive vinyl, which is not heat application. It is our decal or sign vinyl or all those fun words that Expressions Vinyl now has too, which I do believe is all part of this awesome coupon code for 20% off Siser products. That's pretty crazy. You got that code in there?
Yep.
There it is. So all of our decal, the pressure sensitive, the Easy PSV is what this is called. That's a whole nother world. but that's a lot of fun as well. That does require pressure. So everything, when you think Siser, make sure you have that pressure locked in. If we have any last minute questions, please feel free to ask now.
Let's see. Should you repress inside out real quick?
You shouldn't have to press inside out. The only product that I suggest pressing inside out would be the Brick 600. The brick does take about 2 steps to properly bond it. Was there one more? Sorry.
Nope.
Okay.
Good. We're good.
So in case you were working with brick, you'd want to press it and you know it's going on something that's going to be washed. You press it on the front, then you'd flip your garment inside out or flip it upside down. And then you'd actually say this is brick, you'd press it right on the backside, which would go right to the adhesive of the brick. So that's what you're going to want to work with. And the heat press will definitely help you with that. So yeah, the inside out for the other products is not necessary. Oh, got something in my eye, sweet. So yeah, that was that, right? I hope that helped you out. I'm Joe with Siser North America. We can't thank Expressions Vinyl. Everybody there is awesome. Keep watching their amazing videos. Follow that Facebook page for all the people that are on the Siser North America page. Check out Expressions Vinyl. Awesome deals going on right now. All Siser this week. Coupon codes, $75 off of a heat press, just like this one here. So yeah, if you have more questions, you can always let us know. We always like to hear feedback. If not, go check out expressionsvinyl.com today, and we'll all talk to you soon.